Well, it's because people don't want to be happy. I just don't think people want to be happy.
Hello, and welcome to Plant Positivism. My name is Kamisha, and on this channel, we talk all things plants and we talk about positive and optimistic living. On today's episode, we are going to explore the topic of happiness. For this happiness discussion, I talked to one of my good friends who is always bouncing with loving, happy energy, Melanie. And what you'll learn from her are what she teaches her kids about happiness. You'll learn how she finds happiness in her everyday. And you want to make sure that you see the very end where she actually tells us what her happiest moment of that day was. It's different. Maybe not so different, but it caught me off guard. Enjoy the conversation and be sure to let me know what your thoughts of happiness are in the comments below.
So tell me what you think the definition of happiness is.
Well, my definition of happiness is really just, is it like a fulfillment, a satisfaction?
Mm,
But I don't confuse my happiness with it always has to be on. So I can be fulfilled and satisfied and still have a day or a moment when I'm not like super happy, do you know what I mean? Or what other people would consider happy. But I think it's good to have the positive emotions behind
mm-hmm,
that.
mm-hmm.
I also think that having a deeper sense of purpose gives me happiness and should be what gives other people happiness. And if you just have the one goal of having children,
Mm,
limit yourself to that one purpose, then you don't have anywhere else to go.
right.
Whereas my sense of purpose comes from, every day giving back to others. I love community service. I love community service. And
Mm-hmm.
also I love scarves and I love lipstick.
All these things make you happy.
Flowers, fresh flowers are incredible for happiness. Plants are incredible for happiness. So I think the real, it's again for me though, the base of it, the root of it is, contentment, satisfaction, and also, but having that purpose, knowing that you have a purpose, or at least that you're seeking that purpose, right? Happiness can be, finding that purpose in many different ways. However it is you're seeking it, right? As a person coming out of college with a degree or without a degree, you're searching for something. That happiness can be in, trying different things, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think when
So
you're
happiness for you is an emotion. Are you saying it's an emotion that you find or that you feel when you are pursuing things that you find purposeful? Whether
that's
it's like your community, whether it's being out in nature, whether it's wearing a beautiful scarf, right?
best at home dressed up. I'm happy when I'm at home in a dress, the most beautiful gown. I'm okay with that. So you have to remember too, Kamisha, I'm very much in love with myself. That's another thing that
Oh,
people are missing is being in love with themselves. I've always been in love and loved myself very, very much. I know you know that.
mhm. Yes, I do. And life, right? I
Yeah,
feel like you
yeah,
love
yeah,
yourself and you love
I do.
life.
Yep.
And when you are a person who is a lover of life and is a lover of self, it's easy, I think, to find
Yes.
places where you can, tap into that happiness emotion, right? Because you're
Yes.
constantly looking for it. It's just part of like who you are.
And I don't even know that I have to look for it. I just walk into, you know what I mean? Just, I don't know. Don't you feel that you just walk into some days when it's just so easy as a person who is that way, right? Whereas other people struggle with that, right?
I feel like there's just a lot of women that are they're just not living their best lives. They're not even trying to live their best lives. I feel like when you get to the age that we are, in our like mid to late 40s, that you should be looking for like what's the next thing. But I think some of them have just kind of settled, like
But I
this.
think you have to remember that that's been our culture. That is how our society has wanted women to act. right? Think about indigenous cultures. They were side by side with their women, encouraging them. The European had a different idea about women and how you act and what you do, and
That's true.
subservient. And so I think even though our roles have shifted and women are doing more things, I think deep down a lot of us think that being maternal means being domesticated. Like, I can't go out and do the things I used to do. I can't look the way I used to. And settling, right? Come into
Well,
that.
you bring an interesting point too, because you mentioned, being maternal, right? So you're a mom and I'm a mom, and we're at different stages with our children.
Very.
For sure, like totally different stages.
But make sure the viewers know that we are college roommates. We work, and yet we're at opposite ends of the spectrum. So it can be, it's possible, ladies. Don't give up.
I know it is possible. I think you're correct in the fact that, if you're maternal, many women, like, that is where they then seek their happiness, right? Through their children. It's almost as if they have the children. Maybe that was one of their goals, have children, family, the whole thing. So if they're blessed to have children or adopt children or whatever, right? They have these children in their lives. That's it. They're like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing. This is all I've ever wanted. And I do think that you can kind of get caught up in thinking that, like, your children's lives is your own too. And then they start seeking their happiness through their children, which I think is not a good thing for the children. It's not good for the mom. But it's also not good for the children either.
My son was having a rough day yesterday, and the calendar page said, some days you have to make your own sunshine. And I think that's what people neglect to do, is you're not always going to walk into happiness like I might. It's not always going to be waiting at your front door. But if you know ways to make that happiness come to you, if you know how to grab that emotion and target on that, gratitude is another thing that brings happiness. Remember, you have to be grateful.
So I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned your children, it sounds like you have some teachings for them around happiness. Is that the case, or is it just like when things come up, you talk to them about it?
I'm a warrior parent, so there's always a teaching. Always a teaching. No, I talked about this yesterday when we were brushing our teeth, and I don't know what it was, but I don't know. We were both smiling and making faces at each other in the mirror, and he said, "I'm happy," and I said, "I know," and I said, "You are always just so full of it." I mean, like me, it just is there. Do you know what I mean? It's coming from him all over the place. I have to be an active teacher here, because I've got one child who's
he needs to be redirected to happiness sometimes, because he kind of instantly
he's a very happy thing, but he definitely he likes, you know what, I think too, even though most people are not clinically narcissistic, I think they are narcissists. So they don't have the capacity really to think outside of themselves. So in this being seen, it connects, right?
When we were younger, I remember people saying things like, you'll find happiness, or like, happiness will happen for you when, right? Like, there's all these different things that you need to be doing in order to get to happiness, as though happiness is like some final destination. Like, you're gonna get someplace called happiness, and then you're just gonna be happy all the time, right? Like, happy all the time, because you know, I feel like that was a narrative that was given. You need to find your happiness, you need to seek things that bring you happiness, you need to get on the path to happiness, as though you get there and then you're just going to be happy for the rest of your life, and without any kind of management, like you said, on your own, of your own emotions and feelings, and looking at life in a way that can then bring you that emotion of happiness. And I don't know where that came from, this idea that one day you would be happy, as though you can't be happy
honestly, because
today.
we are from the Black community. I'm wondering if it equates to some degree to freedom, right? In being free was the happiness that they were seeking. So, right, or in a lot of Christian senses too, based on the enslaved person's mindset, death was also freedom and happiness and that too. So I think
That's
that's why that
true.
destination is applied to that meaning, because
Hmm.
that freedom was so important and that would mean happiness. But little did they know, once they were free, no money, no skills, not able to read, you're just out there on your own. And
Hmm.
they were, then there were struggles, and then come the struggles, you know what I mean? I'm free, but I'm still not at that destination, right?
Right. I'm
Because
not
I'm
at this
seeking this
destination
thing.
called happiness that
Right,
everyone is telling
right,
me once I'm free, I
right.
will get to.
So I
Or
wonder if there's
or like
something,
you said,
yeah,
then they might think based on their religion, oh, once I die, once I die, that's the only place I'm concerned about. That's the only time I'm gonna wonder, worry about being happy. It's like now I'm
yeah,
not concerned about it. When I get to heaven, that's
yeah,
where my happiness will reside, or where my happiness resides, maybe.
right.
And then I will feel that. That's interesting you say that, because I wonder if it is a cultural thing though. I don't know. I mean, like obviously we can speak only as Black women, but if there are other women of other cultures who don't have that same perspective, I don't know, because I still feel, at least here in America, even with women who are not Black, there's a lot of them that are not seeking happiness or finding happiness or stumbling into happiness, as you say, or looking for ways to be happy, even if it's small things, like you said, gratitude. They tend to look more at the losses and the sadness of life instead of looking at, all of the great things that can bring you the happiness.
There's a really great quote that I love, and I live by this. Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional, right? So
Mm,
you can't avoid pain. There's no avoiding pain. Nothing. In every part of your life, or whatever you're doing, you're going to experience pain.
mm,
But whether you
mhm,
choose to suffer through that, with
mhm,
by not seeking that happiness, and again, not seeking this destination of happiness, but by every day waking up with this grateful sense of, okay, today I'm going to try to do this for myself, and maybe have, you know what I mean, a glimmer of something, right, that feels like
mhm,
happiness for that person.
mhm,
You don't have
mhm.
to suffer through things. And I think, kind of back to this, I think people enjoy the suffering. I think suffering brings people comfort.
And we've already kind of established, I think, that it's an emotion that you can choose. So why is it you feel people don't want to be happy?
Think about all the people. So now I'm going to focus then on other cultures where there's more opportunity to um, maybe think that happiness comes in improving my life, right? So
Mm,
I've gotten this big house now. I've
mhm,
got my fancy cars. I'm still not happy, right?
mhm.
Okay, so I've got to redecorate my house. I've got to get new furniture. I've got to have Wayfair come in and give all this new stuff to me, and I'm still not happy. I think because people don't. I don't think that people understand that happiness isn't going to be, again, it's not something that it is not a destination. It's something that you have to create for yourself. You have to make your own sunshine. You're not
Mhm.
going to find it. I tell, my boys all this all the time. You're not going to find it in someone else. You're not going to find it in a new paint color. You're not going to find it in this new dress, right? That's fun.
Mhm.
That is fun.
Right.
I love my lipstick. I love my new lipstick. But I'm not, but that's not my it's not where it ends. It
Mhm.
cannot be
Mhm.
that you stop there. It cannot be
Mhm.
that you keep seeking other things. It cannot be that and by seeking other things, I mean external things. The work needs to be done internally. That's where our happiness comes from. That's where that choice is made to say,
Mhm.
I'm grateful for the shack that I have. There was a
Mhm.
tornado yesterday. It didn't fall down.
Right, right. Or, there's an
I'm happy
earthquake
that
and people, right, happening across the world. People are dying and missing, and people don't
and
still don't know where
missing.
their family is,
And
right, because of it.
floods here, fires. I mean, so many people have lost their homes, and my life is still my own. I should be
Mhm.
happy with that, but a lot of people are not. I don't know why but I think they choose to suffer. I think they choose to not be happy because I think it brings more attention. Our news is negatively influenced, right? We focus on those negative things. News outlets
Mm.
do.
Mm-hmm. So
A
you
lot of
think
their
it brings them
politics.
attention? You're saying it brings them attention if they are
I
maybe
think so.
a
I think
person who
so.
is perpetually sad. That's going to definitely get
Because think
attention,
of how
right?
many people will reach out to you and ask you how you're doing if you're sad. How many people might seek to help you or counsel you or guide you or smother you with some kind of love, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
healthy or not, and
Mm-hmm.
enable you in that, right? People
Mm-hmm.
love to enable other sufferers, right? And
They
people,
do, they do. It actually reminds me of something that Oprah said once on one of her shows. Maybe she said it a few times. I'm not sure. But anyway, it was that people just want to be seen, right?
uh,
If a person is thinking that they are only seen because of sadness or they're only seen because of something, that's going on that's like a negative thing, and that's the only way that people pay attention to them, I still don't think that's going to bring them happiness, but it
no,
will bring them, like you said, the attention, right?
they're
That
not
they
looking for
think
happiness because,
might
again, they're
be.
choosing to suffer. They're choosing to
You
remain in
don't think
that
they
state.
feel like that might make them happy? Like the more people that see me, the more people that there's this idea of more, right? Whether it's more money, more people, more love, more children, more men, more whatever, right? More food, more, that you keep adding all of these things and it's going to somehow make you happy. But what it does, I think, is it covers up, right, a lot of what you said is going on inside, because that's truly, I agree, the only place where happiness resides, right? And as long as it resides within you, then it can be that you have small things that happen that will bring you happiness. And you have big things that happen that will bring you happiness. And even when you have things that bring you pain, like you said, you don't suffer as long, right? Because now you realize, like, all of it is me. It's all controlled by me.
Right,
Like, I'm
right,
the one that is guiding all of
right.
this.
They,
Right. You're
they
not saying, oh, I'm having such a great, marvelous day. And then they call. No, it's if you say, oh, this is not a good day. And then they're like, what's going on?
right,
Right. Then they will
right.
call.
Who's dying? Who's dying? What's going on? Right? That's exactly what I'm talking about. Right? People don't call the happy person and say, "Oh my gosh, share your happiness with me." But if you say I'm having, I'm just really down in the dumps, then they're gonna call, and more people are gonna call, and then they have. There's so many. I don't know. There might be happiness support groups where you just get to talk about being happy. And
yeah, I don't know if there's a happiness support group, right? I'm too happy. People don't like me. They don't understand. I smile too much. Like, we should come together, all of us, right?
Where you could just be happy and not feel guilty about it, right? Or not feel guilty about finding that.
Because we know that our happiness comes from inside. However, other people like to think that they know what makes you happy.
That's exactly
They
right.
know what it is that you need to do to have this great life. They know the steps that you need to take in order to, feel as though you have purpose and meaning. And it's not true. It's not.
Right.
It can't ever come from anyone else, whether it's a parent. You do the best you can with your children. You teach them, in the ways that and hopefully you're getting some additional learnings around that, which I think many parents are not, but okay. Right. And so you're doing the best that you can. However, it still is not for you to tell me how to be. It can't.
Society, I think we believe that we are here to tell other people, right? I think, and women accept.
Yeah, we know
that.
what's best always. We always know what's best.
Right, right. And women, I think more than men. I don't know statistically speaking, but I think we take that. We accept it. We accept that. If I'm married to this man, and I've committed to him, that he might know what's best for me, even though I want to be married to Joe over there.
I know. And Jane, maybe I want a throuple. Right, everyone's telling me we can't throuple.
But I think this goes back to the fear and the work. If you're already not willing to put in the work to be happy, and then there's the fear, and then you've got all these other voices, it's just probably easier to settle.
Yeah, but the amazing part is, once you actually start focusing on yourself and your happiness, then all of those other voices and things, they start to fade away.
But people don't know that, Kamisha. maybe that's the biggest takeaway from this conversation is you just take that first step, right? And the other stuff just drops away. Right? People don't call you up when you're super happy.
Right. But back to your kids. So I know
Yes.
we talked about this article that the Washington Post had, and it was titled, what was it? The Mundane, Radical, Fun, Painful Ways We Can Help Our Kids Find Happiness, right? And so one of the things that it said when I was reading it, it says that we can help our kids find happiness by, well, actually, it's not about finding happiness. Instead of happiness, it says that kids should be looking to have a good life.
Right.
But what do you think about that?
I don't like the term good. I don't like the term good in use of good and bad, because everybody's got their own good and bad, right? So but I like what works, what serves everybody. So that's what I have here too, is like my service. What so for me, it's not like focusing on what's good and bad, what's good, but what works for everyone. You know what I mean? Can you collaborate with your brother on a project, right? That works for everyone. Can you guys spend some time together doing this and then have your own time to do your separate things? That works for everyone. Can you help with chores around the house? That works for everyone, right? Those are the things that I think are important, is focusing on those things. And for yourself, what serves you that also works for everybody, not what selfishly serves you, right? But what serves you, that what works for everyone, what would work for everyone in any situation, any given situation. And if you're looking at the best interest of the whole, I think you're gonna feel fulfilled yourself, and you're gonna also find that everyone around you feels fulfilled, satisfied, and ultimately happy. So that brings me to another thing, that's modeling this for my children, right? I can't tell them to be happy if I'm always moping around. You know what I mean? So I think people, routine is important, right? Like you said, waking up and not going right to the social media, or not going right to whatever it is that's going to bring you down immediately. But also, I mean, the simple things, just the fact that we're able to breathe, if we wake up breathing, is something grateful for. You know?
Yeah, no, I feel like modeling, you make a good point about modeling as well, because I mean, as parents, I feel like that's the number one way we teach. That, like, that is, it doesn't matter what we say, it doesn't matter how many speeches we give, it's always going to be what we do and what they see us doing and how they see us acting. And so you can even, encourage kids by, like, if you have a friend, they can be a friend, right? Like, or if you have friends that bring you happiness, then they see, oh, mommy has friends that bring her happiness. Like, maybe I'll find friends that do that for me, right? Or if you have things that you like to do, like you said, you like to be in nature, or you like to be walking outside, and that brings you happiness, then they're like, well, what is it I like to do that brings me happiness, right? And then they spend time in those things, right? So you're right. Modeling, I think, is absolutely necessary.
You think about the many ways children come into this world, happy little bundles. I mean, when they're hungry, they're upset, but that doesn't take away from that core, that the only thing they care about is being close to you, right? That is all their happiness. We introduce those unhappy things. We introduce those unhappy moments. We create them for our children. Teachers, parents, grandparents, we all do it somehow, some way, even if we don't recognize doing it. So I think that's why it is hard for people, because if you're raised in a place where, in a space and place and time where your family is not a happy family, that's what you know. We're not taught. That's the thing about, like, even with marriage, like we've talked about this before, being a fairy tale, and you're going to meet, it's work, you know what I mean? You have to know who you are before you go into that situation. If you come out of a home not knowing who you are because you've been so bogged down thinking about everyone else's unhappiness, and you're just trying to unbury yourself from that, we're not taught to do anything different, right? We just are said, told to go out and find your happiness, Well, teach me how to find it, right? No one does.
Exactly.
There's no teaching and there's no modeling. There's nothing out there that says here, now there are things on how to be happy, but for the current, people that we're talking about our age, nothing necessarily for our parents.
What ways would you suggest that people go about trying to find their happiness?
And so even if you are having, so this is again the finding where in these little things, and not finding it as a destination, but taking steps, you know what I mean? Taking steps to steep yourself in this is, can I write myself a note? I still do this. I learned, who taught me this some years ago? Someone's like, write positive messages on your body with eyeliner. I still do that. So, I mean, yeah, it doesn't matter what color eyeliner. I got some cheap Wet n Wild eyeliner or some of the old stuff I always keep around. And I write positive messages on my body. I give notes to the boys in their lunch every day. Not every day, but it was every day.
Sometimes.
But I do. I mean, those things are helpful. I send songs to people like "You Got Love and Happiness." You know what I mean? So those are things that also encouraging and having these meaningful, engaging little mini moments is also.
I wonder. Yeah, no, that's amazing. I mean, there should be more of that, right? There should be more songs that are being sent. There should be more phrases that are being shared. There should be more encouraging words that are being given.
Journaling would be one. As if again, writing things out and seeing what you've written makes a difference. I think it's important too, to record yourself speaking plainly. Just a voice recording of your most intimate feelings. What's happening with me right now? And then play it back. Because I think about, if you hear yourself and kind of put yourself in the friend position, right? So then you've removed yourself, you've recorded yourself, and now you're listening to your friend talk to you. What would you say to that person? How would you treat that person? And then you begin the work without all those unnecessary voices, without all the unnecessary, commentary, without the extra baggage that you're carrying around. It'll all drop away if you start working yourself. So again, journaling is a great way, I think, to start in that direction. But I think that hearing your own words played back to yourself.
Yeah, no, that's really powerful. That's very powerful. I think that's a great tip too, because many times people we're not. Or we're so used to hearing the negative, sometimes it's in our mind, and we hear that chatter. It's not the same also as reading it or even hearing it in your own voice. It's different. It actually is very different. I think that was great. That was great. Well, it would take work for you then to find out who you are as a happy person, or what happiness looks like for you, right? It may be work, and that's the other thing I think too, because we're told you will be happy when, it's almost like it should come natural for you. Right. It should just appear, right? It's just, one day you'll just wake up, happiness is here today. Today is happiness has finally arrived.
There's the parade.
I've been waiting all my life for happiness, and happiness is here. And that's not how it goes, right? Like, that's not how it goes, even for people who, are more happy than not happy. And certainly for people who are certainly for people who have challenges because they feel that their happiness resides somewhere else, right? In a thing, in an achievement, in a person, in money, in whatever. And they don't realize, even back to not being taught, right, that there's techniques and things that you can do to actually get into a space where you bring about that happy feeling. Right. Like, that's what it is. It's you bringing about this happy feeling. So this is our last question. And my last question is, what have you done this week or today or in the last month that has brought you happiness?
Okay, so one of my, I don't know, I love masturbating still.
Oh, God.
So wait, let me explain why. When I was in my teens,
well, I don't have children watching my channel, so I guess so. Go ahead, just go for it.
When I was in my teens, I learned that Italian women would masturbate like every day of the week. So I was like, I gotta keep up with that.
Really? What? That is a
So,
statistic.
but I haven't done. But I think you knew even from college that we talked about. I enjoy
Really?
my
So it's like a
body.
European thing, huh?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, and women in the U.S. were not doing it. So I'm like, well, I'll be the one woman who keeps up with this trend. That is such to me. In addition to lipstick, that's just to me. I don't need a pedicure. I don't need a manicure, but
You just need an orgasm. One orgasm a day.
And the thing is,
And
it's a self-fulfilling. It's so different to just please yourself and know your body so well. I don't need toys. I don't need anything. Just me. And I think that's important. That I think women also don't. We don't know our bodies. We don't know ourselves. So maybe someone else can please us in some way, which is wonderful. But I like pleasing myself.
You know, I mean, I at first when you said that, I was like, then I thought, who's watching this? Like, we're grown people.
Right.
And I think there's a couple of things to that. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that. I think it's wonderful. But it might be why you're so happy, right? It might be why you're so happy because, right, when you have orgasms, it releases some positive like hormones. I don't know what they all are, anything, but I know it releases good hormones, right? And what you're saying about being okay with your body, right? Being okay with knowing your body, owning you are in charge of your own body, right? And seeking pleasure, right, within yourself. Like, Melanie, this is actually everything that we've been talking about, right? That's going to lead you to some form of happiness. It makes perfect sense that kind of activity is something that would bring you happiness. It makes perfect sense.
It does. Reading a book. I mean, so that's my list is going on. Reading a book. I read like 3 books at a time, but I think that's, you asked me what I've done the last, few days.
Yeah, no, the last part was good. No, we can stick with that. I think that's amazing.
But I'm serious. I love reading books too. I mean, it's not just the masturbation. Reading, I love books.
No, I only asked for one thing. It's fine. No, I'm not saying the
Okay.
only thing. I didn't say the only thing. I just said one of the last things.
Okay.
Because you did say in the beginning you get excited in nature and scars and all these things. So it's not anybody's going to think you're just off in a corner all day, pleasuring yourself.
The other thing about that too is I think it's a self-paced thing too. When you're with a partner, you're working together. Do you know what I mean? You've got to have the time.
Yeah.
For me, it's just about seriously collapsing into myself into some way. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That tingly, the glow that's after, and it's just
and release. Like I think the release, because you also can release stress.
Yes.
And
yeah.
There's really a lot to that too. Maybe we can have a different talk.
We should.
And so find out how.
Now there are 3 takeaways: journal, record yourself, and masturbate.
Get to know your body, get to know yourself, because we said that's what it is. Get to know yourself, right? Get to know yourself in all ways.
In all these ways.
In all ways. Yeah. Exactly. Thank you so much, Melanie. I so appreciate this conversation. You are just so enlightened, and you always have such great opinions and thoughts on so many things. It's anytime I bring up a topic, you're like, oh, I got something about that. I've read something about that. Oh, yes, I know, and it's great. It's great because so many people have so little to say about, hardly anything. And we can always talk about anything. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today about happiness.
Yay! Thank you. Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
Okay.
So I did want to say my calendar page for today is really great. Stay close to anything that makes you glad you are alive.
If you enjoyed this topic today, be sure to join my weekly newsletter where I talk more about optimistic living. I talk more about happiness. I have a weekly affirmation, and you'll get to see some really cool plant pics and get some really cool plant tips as well. Click the link below. Bye.